They say love is the answer, but few ever learn to ask the right question. We crave connection, yet we don't understand the first thing about truly seeing another soul. Most people fail at relationships, not because they don't care, but because they never learned how to care in a way that actually heals instead of wounds. They bring their fear and call it loyalty. They bring their control and call it protection. They bring their emptiness and demand someone else fill it. But love is not a transaction. It is a revelation. It is not about owning or fixing someone. It is about learning to hold space for a person as they are, not as we wish they would be. We were never taught this. We were taught how to win arguments, not how to listen. We were taught to impress, not to understand. We were taught that being right was more important than being kind. But here is a quiet truth. You do not lose yourself by softening your voice. You do not diminish your power by choosing empathy. You expand it. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "When dealing with people, remember, you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion." That single sentence contains the root of every broken bond and the seed of every lasting relationship. Because we often come to others with facts and fire, when what they really needed was warmth and patience. People remember how you made them feel long after they've forgotten what you said. And sometimes what a person needs most is not advice, not correction, but to simply be held in the gentle silence of understanding. The missing ingredient in most relationships is not love, it's presence. Most people are not truly with the people they say they care about. Their bodies are there, but their minds are in yesterday's grudges or tomorrow's expectations. And presence true, unwavering attention is the rarest gift you can offer. In a world full of noise, being fully here, now, with another human being is revolutionary. But we sabotage that presence. We poison our relationships with comparison, with entitlement, with ego disguised as self-respect. We think respect means never being challenged. We think boundaries mean never being uncomfortable. But the truth is, real love will challenge you. It will stretch the limits of your emotional patience. It will confront your unresolved wounds. And if you're not ready to grow, you'll walk away from the very connection that was sent to heal you. Never trust the people who tell you other people's secrets. They will one day sell yours too. And never give your vulnerability to those who only see it as leverage. Because trust is not something you grant instantly. It is something you build, moment by sacred moment, through consistency, humility, and truth. You must also know this. Toxic people are not always cruel. Sometimes they are just inconsistent. They pull you close, then disappear. They give just enough to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel whole. And this half-love, this emotional breadcrumb trail, is more dangerous than hatred because it teaches you to settle for less than you deserve. Walk away. Not because you are angry, but because you have remembered your worth. Do not chase people who leave when you are at your lowest. Do not beg for affection from those who withhold it like punishment. The love that requires you to shrink, to second guess, to perform is not love. It is fear in disguise. It is the dance of the unhealed. And here's what most forget. You cannot heal others by breaking yourself. You cannot save someone who keeps choosing their wounds over your peace. You are not responsible for someone else's transformation. You are only responsible for staying true to your own. Our thoughts make us what we are, Carnegie said. And in relationships, your thoughts about yourself dictate how you allow others to treat you. If you believe you are not enough, you will attract those who confirm that belief. If you believe you are unworthy of peace, you will keep chasing chaos and calling it passion. But the truth is, peace is not boring. Stability is not weakness. Kindness is not naivete. Only those who have survived emotional hurricanes know the value of calm. And only those who've been burned by their own lack of boundaries learn that love without self-respect is just self-destruction dressed in pretty words. Success hugs you in private, failure slaps you in public, and nowhere is this more true than in the realm of love. The invisible daily habits: kindness, listening, patience, checking your tone, learning how to argue with grace. These are the bricks that build unshakable trust. But the moment you neglect those things, the collapse is sudden, loud, brutal. So train your character like a warrior trains his body. Discipline your reactions. Examine your triggers. Ask yourself not just, do I love this person? But, do I love them in a way they feel safe around me? Because good intentions mean nothing if your presence leaves scars. Be the person people feel lighter around. Be the voice that de-escalates. Be the calm in someone's storm, not another bolt of lightning. Learn to apologize without excuses. Learn to forgive without reopening the wound. Learn to give without keeping score. Love isn't about winning, it's about understanding. And understanding is impossible without humility. Only you can bring peace to yourself. And when you do, when you stop looking for someone else to complete you, to fix you, to define you, you'll discover that the healthiest relationships are not two halves becoming whole, but two whole people walking beside each other in mutual reverence, not dependence, not control, but respect. People often ask, what is the secret to lasting love? The answer is brutally simple: emotional maturity. The courage to face hard conversations without shutting down. The strength to stay kind when you feel triggered. The wisdom to know that the tone of your voice can either build a bridge or burn one. It's not about never fighting, it's about how you fight. Not about always agreeing, but about never turning disagreements into emotional war zones. And above all, be yourself. No matter what happens, always be yourself. Because pretending to be someone else, just to be loved, is the slowest form of spiritual suicide. The right people will not require your mask. The right person will fall in love with the parts of you you've been taught to hide. So strip away the performance. Speak with honesty, not perfection. Listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. And give your love freely, but not foolishly. Give it with eyes wide open. Give it with standards. Give it with the understanding that real intimacy is not born from constant pleasure, but from shared truth, mutual effort, and the silent decision to keep showing up even when it's inconvenient. If someone constantly makes you question your worth, it is not love. If you constantly feel drained, silenced, criticized, or afraid to be yourself, it is not love. Love does not imprison. It does not manipulate. It does not break you to remake you in someone else's image. True love, it liberates. It heals. It reflects back to you the strength you forgot you had. It teaches you that you are already whole, not because someone says so, but because you finally remember the truth. You are not here to be someone's emotional project. You are here to grow, to love, to give, but never at the expense of your soul. So here is the call. Rise. Stop begging for crumbs when you were born for abundance. Stop accepting coldness as a substitute for mystery. Stop mistaking inconsistency for intensity. Love yourself enough to wait for a love that feels like home, not a battlefield. Because when the storm inside you finally settles, when your heart beats steady, not from someone else's approval, but from your own peace, you will know. You will know that every failed relationship, every heartbreak, every toxic lesson was not a punishment, but a preparation. The missing ingredient was never love. It was understanding. Understanding of yourself. Understanding of what you truly deserve. And once you find that, once you hold it in your hands like a glowing ember, you will never again let someone dim your light just to make them comfortable in their darkness. Let them go and let yourself begin. Let yourself begin again, not from bitterness, not from vengeance, but from clarity. Because when you truly understand what went wrong, not just in them, but in you, you begin to see that relationships are not about completion, but revelation. They reveal your wounds. They expose your blind spots. They reflect back the parts of yourself you've neglected or denied. And if you're wise, you don't run from this mirror, you stare into it until it teaches you everything you were too distracted to see. There is no such thing as a failed relationship. There are only unlearned lessons. People come into your life to wake you up, not to comfort you. Some arrive to teach you boundaries. Others, self-worth. Some remind you of the power of vulnerability. Others show you what happens when you forget it. But every person is a message from life itself. Listen well. Do not waste your pain. Sift through the ashes until you find the wisdom. It is always there. And once you learn, you rise different. Quieter, yes, but clearer. Not harder, but wiser. You start choosing people who bring peace, not chaos. You start valuing the ones who speak gently, not just loudly. You stop being attracted to what wounds you and start being drawn to what calms you. And when someone shows you love that feels like safety, that feels like consistency, you'll finally understand it was never about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone present. Presence is the rarest currency in the world. Anyone can send a text. Anyone can say, "I love you." But not everyone can sit with you when you're not okay. Not everyone can hear the tremble in your silence. Not everyone can love you on your worst day without needing you to be better first. That kind of love, steady, patient, aware it's not loud, but it's eternal. It doesn't flash like fire. It glows like a hearth. So, how do you become someone capable of such love? You begin by telling yourself the truth. No more excuses. No more blaming your past. No more chasing partners to fix your loneliness. No more bending until you break just to keep someone from leaving. Love built on self-sacrifice is not noble. It is unsustainable. Because you cannot keep pouring from a cup that's been shattered by your own denial. You must heal. You must take the long, quiet road inward, the road that no one applauds you for. The road where you meet the version of yourself you've been avoiding. The insecure one, the jealous one, the one who lashes out, the one who clings, the one who loves too fast and settles too soon. That version of you is not shameful. It is sacred. It is your teacher. And until you understand that teacher, you will keep repeating its lessons in the form of partners who disappoint, betray, or abandon you. Break the cycle. Forgive your younger self for the people they let in. Forgive your present self for still struggling to walk away. But promise your future self, this ends with me. I will not hand my heart to someone who hasn't earned my trust. I will not mistake chemistry for compatibility. I will not confuse intensity with intimacy. Because real intimacy is not built in rushes of adrenaline. It is built in the quiet acts, the way someone checks in when they don't have to, the way they speak about you when you're not in the room, the way they make space for your truth, even when it's inconvenient. That is love. That is maturity. That is rare. Most people fail at relationships because they want the feeling without the responsibility. They want to be chosen, but they don't want to keep choosing. They want the reward of love without the discipline of compassion. They want connection, but not the discomfort of growth. They want a partner who accepts everything about them, yet they criticize every flaw in return. That isn't love, that is ego looking for a mirror. So let the world play its games. Let others chase their illusions. But you be the exception. Be the one who stays soft in a hard world. Be the one who listens more than they speak. Be the one who says, "I will not be perfect, but I will be present." Be the one who remembers. Relationships are not a guarantee. They are a gift. a fragile, living thing. And like all living things, they require nourishment, attention, respect. And if you're not willing to grow, to bend, to sit through the storms, then do not ask for the sunshine. You cannot harvest what you do not tend. And above all, remember this: you are worthy of the kind of love you've never received, but only once you give it to yourself first. Because no matter how deeply someone loves you, they cannot undo the damage of the love you have denied yourself. That is your task. That is your responsibility. That is where healing begins, not when someone chooses you, but when you choose yourself. The missing ingredient wasn't them. It was your own belief that love must be earned. But it never had to be. It only had to be remembered. And now, you remember. You remember that you are not a project to be completed. You are not a puzzle for someone to solve. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not too much. You are just too real for a world still addicted to masks. And you will not shrink to be understood by those who have not yet understood themselves. You remember that boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks, opened only by those who knock with respect. You remember that emotional honesty is not weakness. It is the greatest form of strength, because it demands that you reveal your heart, knowing it might be mishandled, and you do it anyway. Because hiding is no longer a life you wish to live. You remember that peace does not arrive when life finally stops being hard. It arrives the moment you stop betraying yourself to make others comfortable. It arrives when your spirit no longer needs validation to feel valuable. It arrives when silence becomes your sanctuary and solitude becomes your strength. So now, you rise not with fury, not with vengeance, but with clarity and stillness. You no longer chase people who don't recognize your worth. You no longer beg for crumbs when you were born to feast. You no longer explain your standards to those who benefit from your confusion. And you no longer confuse pain with passion. You begin to walk differently. You move through the world not as someone desperate to be chosen, but as someone who already knows they belong to themselves, to peace, to a life that does not demand self-betrayal. This is the beginning of everything you once thought you had to find in someone else. Because the truth is, when you are whole, you stop making other people your oxygen. You stop mistaking attachment for love. You stop confusing emotional roller coasters for romance. And you begin to choose differently. You begin to choose the one who calms your nervous system, not the one who spikes your adrenaline. You begin to choose people who speak your name with respect when you're not around. You begin to choose those who love you in the mundane, not just in the dramatic. Those who don't make you guess where you stand. Those who never punish your vulnerability with silence. And when you choose that, when you choose yourself again and again, you will see the entire architecture of your relationships begin to change. No more one-sided effort, no more emotional confusion, no more begging for energy that was never meant to stay. Because you've finally seen the truth, you attract what you believe you deserve. And now you believe in your worth. Now you speak the language of peace. Now you love, not because you are empty, but because you are overflowing. And that changes everything. You no longer fall for words, you watch for actions. You no longer cling to potential you trust patterns. You no longer ignore red flags, you respect them. Because you've made a vow. My peace is the price of admission, and no one enters my heart without reverence. And here is what else you must know. The people who are meant for you will never require that you become less. They will never fear your truth, your light, your voice. They will not flinch when you speak your pain. They will not retreat when you show your shadow. They will meet you there in the raw, in the real, in the quiet places where love is not loud, but loyal. These are the people you wait for, not because you're empty, but because you are finally full. Not because you're afraid to be alone, but because you are no longer afraid to protect your soul. You waited this long, not for a savior, but for the kind of connection that doesn't leave you questioning your sanity. And now, you are no longer willing to confuse chaos with chemistry. You've graduated from the lessons. You've outgrown the games. You've evolved past the need to prove your worth. This is what maturity feels like. This is what healing tastes like. This is what it means to love yourself enough to walk away, not out of anger, but out of alignment. Because you no longer settle. You no longer chase. You no longer collapse your identity just to avoid being alone. You rise. You sit in silence and hear your own voice for the first time. You feel your own heartbeat and let it guide you home. You look in the mirror and no longer see someone waiting to be loved. You see someone who is love. Someone who no longer needs the chaos of others to feel alive. Someone who has made peace their home and refuses to let any visitor burn it down. This is the rebirth. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, sacred. And now, when love comes, it will not arrive with fireworks and frenzy. It will arrive like a sunrise, soft, certain, undeniable. It will not ask you to question yourself. It will not pull you out of alignment. It will stand beside you as an equal, because you have finally become the kind of person who knows how to be alone without being lonely, who knows how to hold space for themselves and for others, who knows how to stay kind without staying silent. And when that love comes, it will not complete you. It will join you, because you were never incomplete to begin with. Because you were never incomplete to begin with. You were only covered in layers of misunderstanding taught by wounded people who never learned to love themselves. You were told you had to earn affection by sacrificing your truth. You were taught that love was something fragile, something that came with terms and conditions, something you had to be good enough for. But now, with new eyes and a wiser heart, you see through the illusion. You see that love, real love, doesn't arrive when you are perfect. It arrives when you are honest. It begins the moment you stop editing yourself to be accepted. And in that moment, you realize you do not have to perform to be loved. You do not have to bend to be kept. You do not have to bleed to prove your devotion. You just have to be real, because anything built on performance will one day collapse from exhaustion. But what is built on truth, on mutual respect, on open-hearted presence that will endure storms, that will carry weight, that will stand? So many people fail at relationships because they're chasing highs, not depth. They want the butterflies, not the brutal honesty. They want the storybook, not the sacred work. They want the spark, but not the safety. But the truth is, sparks fade. Feelings shift, circumstances change. Only those who know how to see each other beneath the surface will last. Only those who are not afraid of the silence, the mundane, the uncomfortable conversations, only they will find a love that doesn't just excite, but sustains. And the greatest irony? The love we all long for only becomes possible once we stop needing it, once we stop seeking it to fill the void. Once we stop giving others the job of rescuing us from our own emptiness. Because the moment you take back that responsibility, you become free. Free to choose from wholeness. Free to walk away when peace is compromised. Free to say, I don't need you to fix me. I need you to see me. And if you can't, I will not shrink to fit into your blindness. This is your evolution. This is the rebirth of your self-worth. And the final lesson is this. You teach people how to love you by the way you love yourself. If you tolerate disrespect, you teach them that's the standard. If you abandon your needs, you teach them that your needs don't matter. If you betray your truth to keep the peace, you teach them you are willing to suffer to stay. But if you love yourself fiercely, if you speak up, set boundaries, own your worth with quiet confidence, then you teach the world a different language, a higher standard, a sacred line, and those who are not ready will fall away. Let them. Your job is not to convince someone to value what they cannot yet recognize. Your job is to protect your peace, honor your spirit, and walk with integrity, even when it costs you connection. Because every time you choose yourself, life gets louder in its blessings. Doors you didn't know existed begin to open. People who speak your language begin to appear. And the version of you who once settled for survival, they vanish gratefully. You are not who you used to be. You are no longer starved for love. You are no longer begging to be seen. You are the love. You are the peace. You are the safety you once sought in others. And from this place, love is no longer a transaction. It becomes a reflection of your strength, of your truth, of your rebirth. So walk forward with your head high and your soul anchored. Let go of what was never love. Make room for what is real. And remember, the missing ingredient was never someone else's affection. It was your own awakening. And now, you are awake. And nothing can ever unmake you. And nothing can ever unmake you. Not the ones who walked away without explanation. Not the ones who made you doubt your voice. Not the moments you questioned your worth in the silence of rejection. Because now, the foundation is no longer built on their presence. It is built on your awareness. Awareness that you were never too much. You were just in the wrong room. Awareness that your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's your compass. Awareness that love without respect is manipulation, and attention without consistency is confusion dressed as affection. You've outgrown the half-loves, the conditional warmth, the fragile egos that flinch at your truth. You've tasted something deeper, something sacred, and now you refuse to settle for artificial intimacy. You refuse to apologize for needing real, for asking for clarity, for walking away from emotional gymnastics. And as the dust of your old patterns begins to clear, something radiant begins to rise inside you. Inner stillness. That stillness is not coldness. It's not detachment in the cynical sense. It's power, pure, untouchable power. It's the kind of silence that no longer seeks to be filled. The kind of solitude that doesn't ache, but strengthens. It's you, unbothered. It's you, no longer explaining your standards. It's you, protecting your softness without apology. Most people fail at relationships because they confuse connection with captivity. They think love is about keeping someone close, even if it means losing themselves in the process. But real love doesn't ask you to give up your identity. It asks you to reveal it. It doesn't clip your wings. It teaches you how to fly in formation. And when you find that when two whole souls meet not out of need, but out of fullness, it is effortless. Not because there are no challenges, but because there is no pretense. Because both people have done the work. Because they're not playing roles, they're just being honest, present, unafraid. That's what you're preparing for now. That's what your loneliness is shaping you for. That's what your heartbreak was pointing you toward. Not a perfect person, but a true one. But you cannot meet truth while clinging to illusion. You cannot walk forward if you're still looking over your shoulder, waiting for the person who hurt you to finally see your worth. Stop waiting. Let their absence be the closure. Let your growth be the response. Let your peace be the monument to everything you survived. You have nothing left to prove to anyone who couldn't hold space for your becoming. You don't need their validation. You don't need their explanation. You don't need their almost love. Because what is coming will not be almost. It will be steady. It will be clear. It will meet you where you are without asking you to dim your light. And you'll recognize it, not because it overwhelms you, but because it settles you. You'll recognize it because it feels like home, the kind you spent years trying to build inside people who never had the tools to hold you. Now you know better. Now you choose better. Now you are better not because of them, but because of you. You faced the silence. You sat with your grief. You held your broken heart without rushing to replace it. And in that sacred pause, you remembered who you are. You are not a second option. You are not a temporary fix. You are not here to chase, convince, or settle. You are here to embody love, to walk in truth, to speak in clarity, to build a life where your peace is non-negotiable. And from that place, from that sovereign, whole, radiant place, you will never again mistake chaos for connection. You will never again call someone's silence strength. You will never again abandon your inner voice just to keep a seat at someone else's table. Because now, you're building your own table. And only those who come with truth, consistency, and reverence will be invited to sit. Not because you're arrogant, but because you've finally learned the difference between love and attachment. And now you lead with love, but you no longer abandon yourself in the name of it. Now you listen to others, but your soul has the final word. Now you welcome intimacy, but only the kind that walks beside your purpose, not in opposition to it. Because this is what real healing looks like. Not perfection, not invulnerability, but wholeness. It is quiet, it is firm, it is sacred, and it cannot be faked. So let this be the new beginning. No more half-love, no more shrinking, no more sacrificing your essence for someone else's comfort. This is your love story now, and it begins with the one person who never left you yourself.